out in front. Docks to Caulfield. Fire. Scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome. What's going on, everybody? How are you doing tonight? What a game! Are we excited after that game? Was that a fun game to watch? I thought it was a really fun game to watch. It was very entertaining. Montreal Canadiens pull out a 5-4 overtime win against the Vancouver Canucks. I see James is in the comments here. He was at the game. Very nice, James. How was that? What was the atmosphere like? It certainly looked like it was a good time from what I was able to watch on TV. It looked like a really great spot to be. The Forum, the Bell Center was hopping. You got to believe. Yes, Claude. Before we get started, guys, I just want to invite everybody, if you're here in the live, if you're watching, please hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. We're trying to grow our channel to 500 subscribers. We've got a ways to go. We're almost halfway there, but we really could use your help getting there. If you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, all of that good stuff, that would be really, really awesome if you could do that. So I will hit publish again here. And how does that work? Let me see. Do that. Then I do that. How do I do that? So you can see down here in the bottom right-hand corner, like, subscribe, publish. Like, subscribe, and follow. Hit the notification bell, subscribe, thumbs up. Give us those thumbs up. We only get the one thumbs up. Billy, how you doing, man? Welcome. Billy D. Welcome to Habs After Dark, guys. So we're going to talk about the game. What did we think about it? I thought there's a lot to talk about. The Canadiens come back home after a long road trip, a very successful road trip, one in which they, I believe they went 4-1. Was that right? Something like that. They beat Florida, they beat Tampa, they beat Las Vegas, and they beat Colorado. And they mixed in a loss to the Chicago Blackhawks. They come home. I believe they would have arrived home yesterday sometime. And then they are right back on the ice on Monday to play the Vancouver Canucks. So there's some travel there. There's some adjustment to the time zones. But again, Vancouver has to do the same thing. They've got to travel all the way across the country as well to play. I'm not sure where they were. Asim, Hudson should have had 5 points. Well, he's playing really good hockey. And again, I think that his teammates are, we've talked about this before, I think his teammates are still adjusting to his style of play. And I've compared it in the past to the LA Lakers when Magic Johnson started with the LA Lakers. And, the adjustment that his teammates had to make to his style, his passing, his ability to get the ball to them in situations where they hadn't previously been used to getting the ball. And once they grew accustomed to playing with Magic Johnson, obviously things went quite well for the LA Lakers, as we know. So, Hudson, we still see there are times where he sets guys up and they can't convert because, in part they're not really ready for the opportunity because he makes passes, he makes plays that, most people can't make. But tonight, 3 points, again, very impressive. I believe I heard on RDS that he has now passed Matvei Michkov in the race for most points amongst all rookies. I think he still has Celebrini to pass, but again, as a defenseman, that's a pretty impressive feat. His plus-minus numbers have obviously improved substantially. He's back. I think he's at a -8 now, but again, we talked about this the other day. He's got 8 minuses when the net is empty. So he's got 7 goals against when the Canadiens' net is empty, and he has 1 goal against when the other team's net is empty. So he's essentially an even plus-minus player with pretty impressive point production for a 20-year-old defenseman. RJ Calabro, welcome. And you're going to give us some updates. I appreciate it. Calgary Flame and former Montreal Canadian Al McNeil passed away. Yes. Al McNeil, great Nova Scotian. I am located in Nova Scotia. I am a Nova Scotian. Native of Sydney, Nova Scotia, played around 600 games in the NHL, coached the Montreal Canadiens to a Stanley Cup victory in 1970-71, died today at the age of 89. Yes, rest in peace, Al McNeil. Hudson is a special player, yeah. I think it just goes without saying now. I think we're getting to the point now where we just feel like we're carrying on and on and on about Lane Hudson and how good he is. But you're right. He's just a different kind of player. It was fun to see him out there on the same ice with Quinn Hughes tonight. Two very special players, two guys who have similar styles. Yeah, I mean, again, even 40 games into his career, Lane Hudson, I'm not going to say he's at the level of Quinn Hughes net. He's obviously not. But again, he's not as far away from that as you would expect a 20-year-old defenseman in the NHL to be. So Montreal is in the second wildcard spot. They are, yes. Salut, Enertap. Comment ça va? Allez, allez, allez. If Montreal goes to the playoffs, can Demidov come? Demidov can come when his season in Russia is over. So when the KHL is done, he can come over to North America. He would not be able to play in the playoffs. He has not signed a contract. He's not under contract. He's not under contract with the Montreal Canadiens right now. Therefore, he would not be able to play in the playoffs. But if he were to come over, if the KHL season ended before the Canadian season ended, he could sign a contract with Montreal, and then he could play, a game or two at the end of the season, similar to what Lane Hudson did last year. So I'm not sure what the KHL playoffs are like either. I'm not sure what the timing of it all is. My understanding is that they end a little bit sooner than the NHL. But again, I don't know. I would expect that SKA would be going on a playoff run, and that they would, that would take some time, and it would be unlikely for him to be here before the end of the regular season. But again, I would have to look at the schedule to see what exactly that would be all about. Character building win, could have easily folded early in that second period, but they pulled it together and pretty much outplayed Vancouver the rest of the way. The refereeing was suspect again. The refereeing is always suspect for me. In fact, I thought it wasn't as bad tonight as it has been in some games. But it is. I agree with you. And those were my big takeaways from the game tonight. Enertap were, sort of the character aspects of this game, and how easily and how fragile momentum is in a hockey game. Right? They come out in the first 10 minutes and they're playing arguably as good as they've played all year. Right? They look spectacular. They're hitting. They're moving the puck. They're creating turnovers. They're getting scoring chances. They're skating. They're passing. All their passes are on the tape, and then JT Miller scores a goal, sort of, in the world of rugby, we call it against the run of play, right? So one team is dominating the game, but, all of a sudden the other team just sort of gets a random chance the other way, and they put the puck in the net. And it wasn't good for Montreal, right? That momentum, that sort of, the ice being sort of turned in Montreal's direction, or sort of, in Vancouver's direction towards the Vancouver goal, the ice was no longer tilted in that direction, and they scored the 2 goals in a row. And, again, as you point out, Enertap, that would have been a really good opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens to sort of fold their tent and go away. And that's something we would have seen a number of times early in the season, right? That's sort of what they would have done. So they give up that goal in the first period, and then they come out and allow 2 goals early in the in the second period, to go down 3-1. And as you say, it would have been a real good opportunity for them to fold their tent, and they didn't. They absolutely didn't. And they also had an opportunity to fold up their tent a little bit after the Cole Caulfield penalty, when JT Miller DeBrusk scored that goal to bring them back in the game. That would have been an opportunity for them to sort of get frustrated. And but again, they're playing better. They're learning to deal with adversity better. They're coming back from deficits, right? I mean, it was unheard of until the middle of December. This team didn't come back from deficits, right? They didn't. If they were behind, they were behind, and that was it. They didn't come back, and they've definitely changed that. They're always in the game, and I think that if you were a fan tonight of this team and you've been watching them lately, I don't think you ever felt that they were out of this game. They were always, even when they were behind 3-1, I think you felt that they had the capacity and the ability to get right back into it. So Demidov had 4 points yesterday. He had 3 points yesterday, I believe. I believe Demidov had 3 points yesterday. So I think he had 2 goals and an assist, I think is right. I watched the game. It was definitely 3 points. I'm not sure whether it was a goal and 2 assists or 2 goals and an assist. But no, he's playing great. He's I think 6 games in a row with a goal. Over in Russia, he's playing really great. I believe they play tomorrow. Let's have a look to be sure that I'm right on that. Habs prospects, guys. Habs. I can't talk right now. HabsProspects.com is a great website if you get a chance to check it out. I highly recommend. Demidov, 1 goal, his 13th of the year. Oh, he only had 2 points. Maybe they took one of them away from him. I was pretty sure he had a goal and 2 assists. Maybe they took one of those away from him. I'm not sure. But they KHL. I don't think actually he might not play tomorrow. I don't think he plays until the day after tomorrow. So he plays. Yeah, they don't play until Wednesday. They play against Spartak on Wednesday. Doc's slowly building up his confidence. Yeah, I'm not even sure I would say it's slow anymore. I think he's pretty close to on track right now. Obviously, he's not putting the puck in the net quite at the same level as he used to. But yeah, his confidence is there. I think it's only a matter of time before he starts, converting on those chances. Is Galley's play receding lately? I think it is. I think it is a little bit. I think he looks a little tired out there to me. I think it's a long season, and I think he looks a little bit tired. I mean, his results are still there, which I am happy about. I mean, obviously the offensive side of his game has kind of gone away a little bit, like he had earlier in the season. But I think as far as his all around game, the eye test, he looks a little bit more tired out there. But again, I think for him the key is I think he short shifts. You don't want him playing more than 13 or 14 minutes a game. I don't think. What did he have tonight? He played a total of 12:57 tonight. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good for him. If he can continue at that pace, I think he's doing just fine. Yeah, I agree, Claude. Doc looked better. Doc need to break from the city. I just think he needed a break from hockey, and he needed a chance to relax and not. To wake up in the morning and not have to answer questions from the media, and just sort of, again, I think probably hanging out with his brother in Chicago, and getting to see his family. I know his father was there. I think that was a pretty good thing for him too, right? So the Christmas break, getting to play against his brother, all that stuff, was pointing in the right direction. Again, if you've followed me, if you've followed my socials and you've followed my show and you've been here before, I've always believed that Kirby Doc would turn it around. I know there's a lot of people that were ready to quit on him, but I've been a Kirby Doc defender. I mean, I don't even feel like I'm a Kirby Doc defender. To me, it was just common sense that he eventually would figure it out. And I guess he probably isn't fully all the way back yet. But again, Kirby Doc's a good hockey player, and he's still young, and it was just a matter of time before he returned to form, especially in the Montreal Canadiens system, because there's not a lot of, I don't want to say there's not a lot of pressure on a young kid from the team but again, there's not, he's not in a scenario where he's got a coach breathing down his neck who's going to bench him if he has a bad game or whatever. Obviously there was some issues, and he got moved around the lineup a bit, but Kirby Doc was going to be given every opportunity to get his game back, and it looks like he's on his way to doing that. A good rebound game from Slav. Yeah, I thought Slav played well. I thought there was some issues with his game a little bit. On one of the goals, I felt like he could have made a better effort to get the puck back. I believe it was on the second JT Miller goal. We'll go through the goals here in a minute, guys, on the scoreboard. If you are here, guys, if you're following along, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching live or in the replay. And also, guys, check out my socials. Check out Recliner Sports on Blue Sky. And you can also check us out on Substack, guys. That's something new I'm trying to start. Substack, I think, is a really good place to have conversations where you can post questions and comments that I can answer or other people here in our Recliner Sports community. So I don't know if you've ever used Substack before. It's a really great great platform. I highly recommend it, and it would be awesome if you guys would go over to Substack and follow Recliner Sports over there, and we can maybe get some conversation going on, sort of between shows and between games. I think it's a good time. I really think that 9-2 was rock bottom for the Habs. They've really turned things around since. Coach he does have to continue his trips to the Minu Noir. And luckily for us, I don't think he has any problem doing that intertap. So we will make sure that he keeps doing that. All right, let's go to the scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go through the scoring tonight. So, as I said, it was a 5-4 final overtime for the Montreal Canadiens. Again, they came out flying early on, right? They came out early in the game on fire, hitting, passing, moving the puck, skating. Everything looked really, really good early on. And, of course, they get that goal 1 minute into the game from Cole Caulfield. All right, guys, see there's the there over there. There's Substack, Blue Sky. That's a little graphic I made. It actually looks pretty kind of cool, I thought. Anyways, so the first goal, Cole Caulfield, his 22nd of the year, so he's got 18 to go to get to 40, 28 if you think he might get to 50. So the countdown is on. We're almost halfway through the season. He's at 22 goals. Pretty impressive. Slavkovsky and Suzuki with the assists at 107. A really good effort by Nick Suzuki. He's battling along the wall. He cycles the puck. Suzuki and Slavkovsky are both battling along the wall. A nice little, cycle. Suzuki gets the puck to Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky spots Cole Caulfield in the high slot, and Caulfield just, buries it. Nice wrist shot, glove side, high on Lankinen. And Lankinen really doesn't have much of a chance. It's a shooter's shot. It's a shooter's goal, and Cole Caulfield has his 22nd of the year. And so the Canadiens, again, for the first 10 minutes of that period, are just dominant. They're all over Vancouver. Vancouver doesn't have an inch to move. They don't have, there's no opportunity for them to breathe. They got nothing. There's nothing they can do. The Canadiens are all over them, and it's just. It's pure domination, right? It looks like a team that's just come off a great road trip, a team that's played really, really well. And it looks like a team like the Vancouver Canucks who are really, struggling with some internal turmoil and some issues going on with their team. So it looked like that for the first 10 minutes. And then unfortunately, we talked about it a second ago, the Vancouver Canucks score a goal out of nowhere, right? The Canadiens are all over them, like literally all over them. They're possessing the puck. They're carrying the game. And all out of nowhere, JT Miller scores his 7th of the year from Höglander. It's a dump and chase play, a nice one. Good pursuit by the Canucks. Really good, strong work along the boards by Höglander. Höglander beats Lane Hudson. He wins a board battle with Lane Hudson, and he kind of gets the puck. He curls towards the center of the ice. He spots JT Miller in the high slot, and JT Miller just buries the goal. It actually looked really similar to the Canadiens' goal, just from the opposite side of the ice, right? So Höglander gets the puck along the wall. He curls to the middle, spots JT Miller, and JT Miller just buries one past Sam Montembeault. So after one, it's the score is tied at 1. The shots are 6-3 for Montreal. Again, a dominant period for the Canadiens. But for that goal, they really were all over the Canucks. The high danger scoring chances were 2-0, and for whatever reason, the expected goals were pretty close. But again, the Canadiens were very dominant in that period. Second period, again, right? That goal by JT Miller just kind of took the wind out of the sails of the Canadiens a little bit. They didn't play poorly for the rest of the first period, but they certainly didn't have the same jump that they did earlier. And then they come out in the second period, and the momentum is completely gone. Right, the momentum is lost completely. At 3:21, JT Miller gets his second of the game from Lekkerimaki and Tyler Myers. It's a soft play, as I said a minute ago, by Juraj Slavkovsky. The puck is kind of loose in the neutral zone. He's kind of just reaching for it instead of moving his feet. Vancouver recovers the puck. Myers dumps it in. Or Myers tries to dump it in, but it goes off of Alex Carrier's skate, and it goes right to Lekkerimaki. Lekkerimaki has an open lane right into Samuel Montembeault. He takes a shot, and the shot is Montembeault makes the save, but the puck kind of just lies there for a second, and JT Miller gets to it before anybody else can, and he kind of chips the puck over Montembeault and into the net. yeah, so at that point it's 2-1 for Vancouver. So despite the great start for the Canadiens, they find themselves down 2-1, and then 20 seconds later, Vancouver scores again. Right, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, again a good shift for him from Besser and Miller. It's a long clearing pass. Miller gets the puck sort of behind his own goal line, and he fires a long clearing pass out to Besser. Alex Carrier kind of closes on Besser, and as he does, Besser spots Lekkerimäki, and he hits Lekkerimäki with a perfect pass, and Lekkerimäki is going in on a 2-on-1. Again, very similar to the goal against Colorado, the Canadiens' goal against Colorado, right? They get the puck in the neutral zone, the defenseman comes to Besser, and Besser hits Lekkerimäki with a perfect pass, perfectly timed pass, and Lekkerimäki is going in on a 2-on-1 with Tyler Myers. And not surprisingly, Lekkerimäki keeps the puck. He doesn't give it to Tyler Myers, and he beats Samuel Montembeault with a wrist shot. So again, it's 3-1 now. The Canadiens again have played really, really well for the better part of the game, and then they've just gone to sleep for about 10 minutes. Right? This is what we've seen from them in the past. Right? They have a tendency to take a little bit of a nap into. They can lose a game in 10 minutes by giving up 2 or 3 goals, and they're done. Right? These lapses in effort, but lapses in their system, right? They lose their structure, they lose their shape, and all of a sudden, the other team's got 2 or 3 goals, and it's an insurmountable lead. They can't do anything about it. And that's what you were kind of, oh geez, are they regressing? Are they taking a step back to that? But no, they didn't. There was a penalty shortly after that second Lekkerimäki goal. And the Canadiens killed that penalty off, and it just seemed to revive them and to recharge them a little bit, and they sort of took control of the game again. Caden Gooley scores at 10:35 of the second period to make it 3-2. Again, really good work by Yoel Armia behind the net. I thought that the battle work along the boards tonight, the cycling and the battling along the boards for the Canadiens was really, really strong. Not just by 1 or 2 players, but from everybody. Armia gets the puck. He makes a nice cross-ice pass to Alex Carrier. Carrier makes a bit of a move on, I don't remember who it is, number 74. It might be Sasson? I think it's Sasson. So Carrier makes a nice move on Sasson. Sasson bites. Carrier spots Caden Gooley, who's having a great game up to this point. And Caden Gooley takes a wrist shot from the point, and it's a seeing eye shot, and it beats Lankinen up high. There's a nice screen in front of the net. Both Evans and Heineman are in front of the net. They're screening Lankinen, and the puck beats him up high. And the score is 3-2 at the end of 2. The Canadiens keep the pressure on early in the third period. Kirby Dach gets his 6th of the year from Hudson and Suzuki on the power play. Hudson gets the puck from Suzuki on the left flank, sort of in that Patrick Laine position. A bit of a lane opens up, a zone, a lane to the net opens up. And so Lane Hudson sees this, and he just attacks. He attacks from that left flank. He goes straight to the net. He fires a shot. And the puck bounces off of Lankinen and it kind of lays there in front of the net. And Kirby Dach is standing there, Johnny on the spot, and he just sort of taps the puck underneath Lankinen and it goes in the net. The score is tied at 3. Shortly thereafter, Lane Hudson scores an unassisted goal. He intercepts a Sasson clearing attempt. Again, he gets that puck on that left flank. This time it's on 5-on-5. It's not on a power play. But he gets that puck in that same spot on that left flank, and for whatever reason, Vancouver sort of, backs off, and the seas kind of open up for Hudson, and he, again, attacks it, and he charges towards the net, and he makes a similar play. It's hard to tell whether he was trying to shoot or make a pass, but when he does, the puck goes into the Vancouver net off of Quinn Hughes. So Quinn Hughes is trying to make a defensive play, and it goes in off of Hughes and into the net, and Hudson has his 3rd of the season. And now the Canadiens are in the lead 4-3. So it looks pretty good. They've made a full comeback. They've recovered from the change in momentum that occurred sort of at the beginning of that second period. And then, unfortunately, we have a bit of a bad play. This is, perhaps one of the negatives of tonight's game, and it's a penalty from Cole Caulfield. Caulfield, is rubbed out behind the net by Tyler Myers. Again, should have been a penalty, but again, the referees in this league, you've got to know that they're not very consistent about their penalty calls, and that a lot of times they're not, they're not going to make those calls. And Cole Caulfield decides, and it's completely out of character for him. It's not something we see from him very often. He comes up and he slashes Tyler Myers' stick out of his hands. Now, was it a little soft? Was it a big deal? No. But again, Cole Caulfield's got to know better, and he's got to do better, and he's got to be better. And I mean, he's being interviewed right now on TV. But again, he'll learn from that. And, again, it's not typically part of his character to do stuff like that. But unfortunately, it does give Vancouver a power play, and they take advantage of it. Jake DeBrusk scores his 17th of the year. JT Miller again with an assist, and Quinn Hughes at 8:51. Again, bad retaliation penalty taken by Cole Caulfield. The puck is sort of rimmed out, and the Canadiens try to clear it. Hughes gets over, and he's able to cancel that clearing attempt. He holds onto the puck. He makes a nice cross-ice pass to Miller, and Miller finds Jake DeBrusk in the right circle. And for whatever reason, Sam Montembeault didn't really get across his crease very quickly on the pass from Miller to DeBrusk, and DeBrusk basically had a wide-open net to shoot at. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at the replay again to see why it was that it was so hard for him to get across there. But he doesn't get across, and DeBrusk has an easy net to shoot at, and he scores. And the score is tied 4-4. And again, this is another opportunity where Montreal could have, caved. Right? They could have, lost the momentum again. Facing adversity hasn't been their strength this year. But certainly it's been a better aspect of their game in the last little while. So the Canadiens do put on a little bit of pressure, certainly in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game. They continue to carry the play for the most part, but they can't manage to score. However, late in the game, with about 30 seconds left, I can't remember who it is that took the penalty for Vancouver. I will check. It will take me a second. The Canadiens are really putting the heat on, and it's Niels Höglander. So Höglander is without a stick. It's funny because he probably should have got a penalty on Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson kind of deked him out, and he kind of wrapped his arms around him, and the referee decided to let it go. Even though it was a clear penalty, the referees didn't seem to want to call a penalty at that point. In the game with just 30 seconds left in a tie game. Definitely should have been a call, but Höglander, for whatever reason, gets away with it. And then again, stupidly, he not taking advantage of the fact that he got away with one, he then follows up by hitting Josh Anderson, who doesn't even have the puck, and he gets called for interference with 30 seconds left. The Canadiens do get a couple chances on that power play, even though I didn't get to see it because RDS on my IPTV conked out at me. But again, they do get a couple chances to score there late in the game. But because the penalty takes place so late in the game, they do carry over the power play to the overtime. So the Canadiens go into the overtime with a 4-on-3 power play. They get the puck. They set up in the Vancouver zone. It's Caulfield, Hudson, Suzuki, and Doc, I believe, are out there. Yeah, that's right. And they set it up. They're moving the puck around. They're kind of being kept to the outside a little bit. But then Suzuki gets the puck, and for whatever reason, there's a big gap. There's an opening to the net, and he takes advantage and takes the opportunity to just wire a wrist shot. Like, his wrist shot is spectacular. I think that's his 3rd overtime winner of the year. But he just wires a wrist shot that beats Lankinen. A pretty good screen by Kirby Dach. There was some question as to whether or not Kirby Dach might have interfered with the goalie, but it was pretty clear that there was really nothing there. And that's it. That's all she wrote. The Canadiens win in overtime. Nick Suzuki with his 12th of the year, assisted by Hudson and Caulfield. That's Hudson's 27th assist of the year. So for a 20-year-old defenseman, in his first 40 whatever, are they even at 42? I don't even know. It's 40-something games, I believe they're at now. He's got 27 assists in his first 40 games in the AHL. That's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive to me. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think that's a pretty special guy. So That's it for tonight, guys. What do we see here? 24-20 were the shots on goal. So again, it was pretty low event as far as shots were concerned. The Canadiens dominated the high danger scoring chances 11-6. And the expected goals, this is all at even strength, guys. This is all at all situations. So I don't just do 5-on-5. I do all situations. So 2.8 to 2.0 for expected goals. I would have expected the Canadiens to have a better advantage as far as that was concerned, but they didn't. But again, all statistics kind of point in the direction of the Montreal Canadiens tonight. A good victory. There were some dead spots. We'll get to that in the report card, but yeah, so that's just about it. That's it for the scoreboard, guys. What do you guys think of that scoreboard? Give me a thumbs up if you like the scoreboard, and a thumbs down if you think it could need some work. Do you have any issues trying to read it off the screen? Like, is it clear enough for you? Is it it's a graphic that I've made up myself. And I just wonder if people like it or not. I think it looks pretty neat, but again, I don't know what kind of experience you guys have with it on your computer screen. I would expect that if you're watching on your iPhone, it might be a little bit difficult to watch. But let me know what you think of it. So let's move on, guys. We got a few more questions here. Suzuki is very underrated. I agree, Billy. He's a very underrated player. I think he's getting at the point now where people are starting to rate him, that he's getting recognized for what he's capable of. People who don't really know and don't watch him on a regular still kind of wonder whether or not he's a first line center in the NHL. But he's a point per game guy, and he's one of the better defensive or better two-way forwards in the entire NHL. So again, I'll put him up against, probably all but maybe there's 8 to 10 centermen in the league who are, on a different tier than he is, or that he's not at their level. I mean, the guys who are the creme de la creme as far as centermen in the NHL, but he's there. Again, if you're a point per game guy and you play defense like he does, we just watched him shut down. He shut down Florida. Barkov. He went toe to toe with Barkov. He went toe to toe with Kucherov. He went toe to toe with Jack Eichel, and he went toe to toe with Nathan MacKinnon. Right, and I don't think it would be fair to say that he shut all of those guys down, but the Canadiens won all 4 of those games, and Nick Suzuki was a big part of it. I know there was some debate on here. There's a guy who really gets upset that I think that Nick Suzuki is better than Tim Stützle. But I think that's becoming clearer and clearer every day, that Nick Suzuki is the superior all-around hockey player. Yes, a great 200-foot player. I see him. I agree. Was somebody injured? I saw Suzuki doubling with the second line. Well, Patrick Laine has been out for the last 3 games. I see him with the flu. They've replaced him with Michael Pezzetta. Michael Pezzetta has played on the second line. They've sort of fed him into the second line, but they've really limited Pezzetta's ice time. So as a result, other players sort of throughout the game took up that spot in Pezzetta's place. Pezzetta only played tonight. What did he have on ice tonight? Yeah, he only played 4 minutes tonight, right? So, as far as the lineup was concerned, Pezzetta was on that second line, but again, Caulfield spent some time, shifting onto that second line. Suzuki did as well. So that's what was going on. There. Cole knew he messed up big time. You could see it on his face in the bench. Yeah, absolutely. You could see it on his face on the bench after Vancouver scored. That's Billy's comment. Yeah, absolutely, Billy. And I think it was obvious that he was he knew, and that's the kind of accountability that this team has right now. That it's not necessarily about, sorry guys, I'm trying to do this for you guys right now. It's not necessarily about do we, is the coach going to throw, water bottles and scream and yell and rant and rave? The accountability on this team right now is more about the accountability to the guy next to you, right? The guy, who, is on the bench, the guy who you hang out with after the games. These are your buddies. These are your brothers. These are the guys that you want to do well for. So that's the kind of accountability I think that this team has right now. So that's sort of where the accountability comes in. Like you say, you could tell by the look on Cole's face that he knew right away that he had screwed up, and that he didn't it was a mistake, and he'll learn from that. So Amazon Prime has done really well for Monday Night Hockey. Cole will learn from that. Yes, I think Billy and Asim are kind of on the same page here. I didn't watch the game on Amazon. I don't typically. I typically watch the games on RDS. I prefer, for a number of reasons, I prefer watching and listening to the game in French. I did have to watch the Amazon game feed for about 2 minutes there when my feed, conked out on me. But yeah, I guess I hear good things. I mean, I'm not sure. I've heard good things and bad things, but I think it sounds like the Amazon Monday night games are being well received. So yeah, I mean, Cole Caulfield had an otherwise really good game, it seemed, right? Like I don't think like we can get on him to any great degree. Otherwise he played a really good game. He played a big role in the game winning goal. So yeah, I'm satisfied with all of that, I guess, is how I would put it. What is this? How do I get rid of that? Put that over there. Sorry guys, I'm trying to learn how to do different things with different graphics here using Ecamm. So Entertap says Cole has to learn from these situations and not let his emotions take the better of him. This is now 2 or 3 times he has taken an ill-advised penalty. Okay, I'm not familiar with other times where he's done this, Entertap. I'll take your word for it. I know you watch the games every bit as closely as I do, if not more so. So I don't see this as a recurring theme for Cole Hudson personally, but if you do, then I'll take your word for it. Sorry, guys, I want to try and do something here with the graphics. So I'll do that. And I'll do. Give me 1 second here, guys. That looks okay. Edit the text. Give me 1 minute here, guys. I will be with you as soon as I can. That. Pardon me. Shadow. Sorry guys, I'm just messing with this right now. It's going to be 2 seconds. I want to do this now while I've got it up. I know this is probably boring for y'all, but I got to do it. Stand by. All right, that's all I'm going to do for now, guys. Sorry to tie you guys up like that. I'm just trying to fix this, how I do the comments here. Let's try that. Is that better? All right, sorry guys. Here we go. Maybe you can tell me, Entertap. I don't see that from Cole Caulfield. I don't see that as being part of his repertoire. But again, I mean, either way, I think he'll learn a lesson from it, and I don't think he'll see that very often, especially um, with the goal being scored against it. And like I said, the the um, the accountability on this team comes in large part from the teammates, right? These guys are all out there for each other, and so for one guy to do something like that, um, I think that they get it, right? They're letting each other down, and I don't think they have any interest in doing that. What's going on, Adrian? Claude, the thumbs up, I assume, is that for the scoreboard? You guys like the look of the scoreboard? Is that what we're doing? André Vezina, what a great game. Yes, c'est un très bel match pour moi. J'ai beaucoup aimé regarder ce match. Je pense que les Canadiens ont très bien joué. Il y a quelques parties de la match qui n'étaient pas très, très bien, mais la plupart, le match était un beau match pour Montréal. Après le retour de le voyage, après les holidays. How do you say holidays? Les vacances de... I don't know how to say holidays. I'm drawing a blank. Anyhow, somebody will tell me how to say holidays in French. The Columbus Blue Jack games was another game where he took a bad penalty, but I'm not dumping on him. He's played very well, but these are learning opportunities that hopefully he overcomes. Yeah, so again, to me, that type of penalty that he took tonight is very different than, I just, as you know, and we've talked about it before, Intertap, I just find like a lot of the penalties that get called in this league right now are so discretionary and they're so ticky tack and they're so like I don't normally blame guys for it's when you take a penalty because you've made a decision that you're gonna do something dumb. Like tonight he had like 10 seconds to think about what he was going to do and he did it anyway. If you take a high sticking or a holding or whatever and it's a hockey play, I don't really see that as a point of discipline really, but we'll see. Again, I don't see that the Canadiens have, as a team, have demonstrated a significant lack of discipline this year. Like to me, if you're getting holding and hooking and tripping and penalties like that, to me, the way the NHL is right now, you're going to get those calls against you regardless. And my issue with the NHL is that while these are supposed to be automatic penalties, if a guy steps on your stick and falls down, it doesn't even matter whether you're like we saw it from, I think it was Jake Evans tonight, right? He's just skating along and Buddy trips on his stick, like he's not even looking at him. And that's an automatic penalty in the NHL. If your stick comes horizontal across your opponent's body, it's hooking. Regardless of whether you apply any pressure, whether you slow him down, whether you do anything, it's hooking, right? If you hit a guy in his gloves with your stick, whether you do it as gently as a mother hen with her eggs, or you two hand them from a baseball swing, it's going to be the same call. It's going to be slashing, right? So it's I find that a lot of those penalties, I have a hard time saying that people lack discipline when they take those penalties because it's so circumstantial a lot of the time, right? The pitchfork from Connor Garland tonight. Like, what was that? Right, like the first like he literally pitchforked like a full swing pitchfork. I can't remember who he did it to, but right in the nuts. Like that wasn't very, But again, that's that gets the same penalty that a guy skating past Jake Evans who steps on his stick and falls down. Those penalties are receive the same punishment in the NHL. It's I think that the officiating and the rules in the NHL are in need of a major, major overhaul. I know it's never going to happen, and I know that I'm sort of, Don Quixote, fighting the windmill on that one. But I'll stand by it, for as long as I ever possibly can. Asim, so what do you think Hughes should do if Montreal in the same spot by March? I don't see the plan changing at all, Asim, frankly. I don't see the plan changing, whether they're in the mix, as we say, or in a playoff spot or, close to a playoff spot. Frankly, I think that they just, they do what they would have done anyways. I think at this point, if they get a decent trade offer for Savard, I think they do it. If they get a decent trade offer for, Dvorak or even Armia, I think they do it. I think that the guys that are expendable, the guys who they will make moves for, are basically the ones who are over the age of 27, right? So if again, I know that a lot of these guys aren't going to get trade offers for them, but if Gallagher, Anderson, Armia, Dvorak, Savard, Matheson. Probably Evans is the only exception to the 27-year-old rule. Again, I don't think that they'll be in a rush to trade any of those guys. But again, I think they will be willing to trade any of those guys if the right offer comes across the table, and it makes sense for the team, right? So again, we've seen how important balance is on a team over the last 2 or 3 weeks. As far as the righty lefty combination on our defense, and how Alex Carrier's addition to the Canadiens lineup has really not just made he hasn't made the Canadiens better just by virtue of his own ability, but because of the role and the hole he can fill in the lineup, he makes the people around him better as well, right? So because Carrier is a right-handed guy who can play in the top four, now it allows Caden Gooley to play on the left-hand side, and we've seen how much better Caden Gooley is playing as a result of that. So now you're getting the benefit of having Carrier in the lineup, who's a better defenseman than Justin Barron, obviously, but you're also getting the benefit of an improved Caden Gooley. And what you're also getting, because Carrier can play, 18, 20 minutes a game if he has to, or even more if he has to, you're seeing the amount of time that Mike Matheson has to spend on the ice. You're seeing that number come down, right? You're seeing the amount of time that Lane Hudson, spends on the ice coming down. I think you're seeing David Savard's time on the ice coming down, right? Because now David Savard is on that third pairing with our Rejoignez. So Alex Carrier has not made the Canadiens' defense better simply by the fact that he's a better defenseman than Justin Barron right now, but he's also made the guys around him better because he's filled that hole. He's filled that spot, and he's, again, Alex Carrier is a very good defenseman, but he's not. He's not. I don't want to insult the guy, but he's nothing special. Like he's not a guy that everybody in the league is dying to have. But he's just a guy. He's like a perfect puzzle piece on this Montreal Canadiens lineup, and it's really, it's really been amazing to see the difference his insertion into the lineup has made. And again, I was perfectly happy with Jaden Struble prior to, and I didn't know why they took Struble out of the lineup and replaced him with Barron in the first place. But again, Jaden Struble has the unfortunate. The reality is that he's a left-handed guy. And having Carrier in the lineup, I think that Jaden Struble was on his way to, being every bit as good as Alex Carrier is as a defenseman, but he's not there yet. He's younger and he's not quite there yet, and he's also a left-hander. So the fact that Carrier is a right-hander, he's experienced and he can play those minutes, really is a huge benefit to the Canadiens. So. Got to run Billy D. All right, Billy D. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming. Vancouver Canucks does not have their best season. Yeah, well, they're not having a great year. No, they're dealing with some internal stuff, I think, right now, Adrian. Again, I don't think we can. I'm not a big fan of you play the team that's presented in front of you. And so the idea that people are going to downplay a victory because of who you were playing against is not really not really my style. So you're happy with the scoreboard, Claude? Okay, I love it. Thank you. Give it up on Caulfield. He got hit all night. Yeah, I thought he had a great game, other than the bad penalty. And again, I think that penalty, that situation should have been a penalty on Tyler Myers, right? So again, you can't retaliate like that. And again, I think he'll learn that lesson. They were great on face-offs. I believe Evans was like 9-1. Okay, I'll take your word for it, but I'll actually check it. So I guess in a way I'm not taking your word for it. 59% for the Canadiens on the face-offs tonight. So yes, very impressive. Jake Evans was Dvorak was 60% tonight. Yes, Jake Evans was 91% in the face-off circle tonight. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Good catch, Asim. Great catch. I didn't notice that myself. Thank you for pointing that out. That's great. Justin Barron is doing worse in Nashville. Apparently, he is. Yeah, he's struggling in Nashville. I like Justin Barron. I've always been a fan. He's from Halifax, where I'm from. I watched him play junior hockey. He played junior for the Halifax Mooseheads. I had season tickets for the Mooseheads. I saw him play a lot of hockey. I know he's a very talented guy. He's a great skater. He has a fantastic shot. But unfortunately, he doesn't seem to, at least so far, he hasn't seemed to be able to put it all together. His ability to think the game at the fast enough pace at the NHL level, to me, is what's kind of lacking. And I don't know how he gets that back, right? And so he's kind of unfortunate for him in a way, because he did rise to the NHL so quickly, and he got those games under his belt where he's wavering, where he has to clear waivers in order to go to the minors. Because a guy like Justin Barron, I think, if you send him down to the AHL for a year and let him play down there, I think he probably would benefit significantly from that. But unfortunately, it's going to be really hard for somebody to send him down at this point because of his contract situation and the fact that he would have to clear waivers. So it's interesting. So who's ready for the A team? Right? We're going to do our A team. So the A team, for those of you who are new here, is my version of the 3 stars. Instead of doing 3 stars, I do 4. We've named it after the great, famous, incredible, amazing television show of the 1980s. The A team had 4 members: Hannibal, Face, Murdoch, and BA. So we have 4 guys. Instead of 3 stars, we have 4 members of the A team. So let's have a look and see what we think. So there it is, guys. Caden Gooley, Nick Suzuki, Lane Hudson, and Kirby Dach. I think Lane Hudson's a bit of a no-brainer. Really good game. He was a +1 tonight. Not very many, despite this, despite how well they played. A number of the Canadiens players were in the minus tonight. Not Lane Hudson. He had a goal and 2 assists. He was spectacular tonight, right? Again, a really, really solid, steady game from Lane Hudson. And so he is an obvious choice for this for the A team. And Caden Gooley, again, set the tone early in that game, right? That big hit on Lekkerimaki in the first 30, 40 seconds of the game. The Canadiens get on the board with a goal right away. They set the tone, right? I already talked about how dominant they were in that first 10 minutes of the game. And Caden Gooley was a big part of that. He threw 2 or 3 huge hits. And again, not sort of running around hits, just like hits that came to him. He took advantage of them, and he punished his opponent when the opportunity presented itself. So really impressed with that. Nick Suzuki, again, steady Eddie. We talked about Suzuki already. We've already talked about how good he is. Tonight we talked about the fact that there were a couple of opportunities for the Canadiens to sort of lay down and play dead a little bit. Nick Suzuki is sort of the catalyst, as the captain, as the straw that stirs the drink. He's the guy who sort of, tonight anyway, and in the past, he's the guy who kind of like rallies everybody behind him, and kind of like that's what you want from a leader, right? So when they need to sort of regain their shape a little bit or whatever, Nick Suzuki is the guy who certainly in the last 2 or 3 weeks has been the guy who's led that charge. And finally, Kirby Dach. Again, we've talked about Kirby Dach slowly returning to his old form. I think it's been certainly the last 5 or 6 games. It's been a precipitous return to his old form. Tonight he looked really good. He looked comfortable with the puck. He scored a goal. He probably could have had 2 more. But again, he's carrying the puck with confidence now. He's making nice passes. The puck doesn't seem to be like bouncing off his stick like it was earlier in the season. And he looks like he really is more comfortable out there for sure. And again, he's doing all of this with basically, missing one of his line mates, right? He's out there either with Pizzetta or some other guy who's double shifting onto his line. So I think that both he and Newhook have looked good, and I'm really excited to see how they look when Mr. Line comes back. So, enter tap. Do my A team selections have a particular ranking or just a random? They're just random. And what usually happens is, I make the graphic as the game is going on. So if you're looking at the graphic, you'll usually see at the top of the list will be a guy who, is pretty clear early on in the game that he's going to be one of the better players. Obviously, if things change significantly, I'm willing to make the change. But again, Caden Gooley and Nick Suzuki, it was pretty clear early on in the game that they were going to be members of the A team. So that's kind of why they're at the top. Lane Hudson, he had his points sort of came in the third period. That's where he played his best hockey, and then the last guy is usually, I'm sort of waiting to see who that last guy should be, and I don't usually add the last guy until the game is pretty much over, because you never know who's going to step up and do something at the end of the game. You'll often see the goaltender be in that fourth spot, because I don't like to put the goalie on the A team before the game's over, because I'm just that much into what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, my brain's not working. When you do things the same way all the time. Again, brain fart. My brain is shut down. So I don't like to put the goalie onto the A team. I don't like to make the graphic with the goalie on it until the game's over, because I don't want to jinx anything. So superstitious is the word I was looking for. Asim says, do you think Montreal should go for a big fish this summer? No, Asim, I don't. Again, there's two problems with what you're saying there. One, I don't like the idea of, I hate it when I hear teams talk about, we got to make a big splash, or we got to go for a big name. You don't go for a big name. You don't make a big splash. You go for somebody who is going to help your team. The Canadiens are rebuilding a team. No, they don't. Why would they want Rantanen? Why would they want Rantanen as a team? Why would they want to add a guy at $13 million to the roster? They don't want They don't want veteran guys who make a shitload of money. That's not what we're doing here. The Montreal Canadiens are in a rebuild. Rebuild means you're rebuilding with your young players. Yes, you might add a free agent or two at the very end to fill in your spots, but you're not bringing in unrestricted free agents to be the top guys on your team, right? That's what they've been doing for the last 2 years. Right, they've been drafting and developing these prospects. Right, the stars on this team are, going to be the Michael Hages and the Ivan Demidovs and the Cole Caulfields and the Lane Hudsons. Right, if you're going to get a UFA, ideally it's going to be a guy who fills a role. You don't want to be again. You don't want to be going out and spending $13 million a year on a guy like Rantanen. Like I don't. Again, I would invite you to listen a little more closely to Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton when they get interviewed, and the things that they say about what this team is doing and what how this rebuild is going. Caulfield is playing some great hockey. Absolutely systematic. I agree, Robert. I agree. Caulfield, I've talked about it before. Like, Caulfield's game is much more well-rounded now, right? Like, last year, everybody was concerned because he wasn't scoring goals the way he used to, and people thought, oh my God, maybe he's not going to be a great goal scorer. But he was working on something, right? He was working on his defense. He was working on other aspects of his game. He's working on everything, and now we're seeing a much better all-around hockey player. We're seeing a guy who gets assists now, right? Before, he was a guy who he'd have 2 or 3 assists for every 10 goals. Now he's making other guys on the ice better. He's setting up plays. He's creating offense as opposed to just being a finisher. He's retrieving pucks along the boards. He's winning board battles. He's doing all that other stuff. He's just not a sniper anymore. He's not a guy who sort of parks himself at the faceoff dot and waits for a one-timer to bury behind the goalie. So. I agree. I think his game is just it's rounding out into something really, really impressive. Rantanen's numbers are bloated because of McKinnon. I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, he's a very good hockey player. He plays well when McKinnon's not there. I mean, his numbers are probably high. I mean, anybody's numbers will be higher by virtue of playing with Nathan McKinnon, but that's not the reason why the Montreal Canadiens wouldn't want him. He's just not. He's not in the plan, right? The Canadiens have said time and time and time again, they're not going to bring in veteran hockey players to take spots away from their young prospects. It's just not going to happen. Would it be nice to have a guy who can put up 110 points on your team? Absolutely, but that's just not what this team is doing, right? Like, I mean, the NHL is littered with teams that thought that they could boost or speed up their rebuild by going out and signing veteran hockey players, right? Look at Detroit, right? Detroit was in a rebuild, essentially, and they got a little bit of a sniff that they had a chance to make the playoffs. And then they went out and started, 2 years ago, they went out and started signing all these veteran hockey players, Patrick Kane. And look what it's doing. They're spinning their wheels now, right? They had to fire their coach over the holidays because their general manager doesn't have the ability or the patience to stick to a plan. First of all, he doesn't have the ability to make a plan, but then he doesn't have the ability to stick to it, right? And that's what you need to do in a rebuild. Entertap is fond of saying, the biggest enemy of a rebuild is a lack of patience, right? Impatience is the biggest enemy of a rebuild, and it is, right? So you have to have a plan in place, and you have to be willing to stick to it and carry on with it. So, what do we think before we move on from the A team, guys? Are we happy with those choices? Is there anybody that you would put on the A team that I haven't included? Is there anybody that's on there that you don't think deserves to be on there? What are your thoughts on the A team? Which guys did you think were the best? Gooley is 21, I believe that's right. I think he's 21 or 22, but it's pretty easy to check. Caden Gooley is, as of today, 22 years old. He's actually about to be 23. He'll be 23 in 10 days. So Caden Gooley was born on the 18th of January 2002. How does that make you feel for old? But yeah, he's 21 years old or 22 years old, about to be 23. You like the A team, Adrian? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Anybody else that you think that might have? I mean, obviously, there's a few guys that could have deserved a spot. I actually thought. I thought Arbor Jacki played well tonight. Again, he's just turned into a really steady defenseman who just shows up every night. Emil Heineman never has a bad game. There's just really, really good players out there. Armia, I thought, played well tonight. Alex Carrier didn't have a great game tonight. Mike Matheson, not a great game tonight for me. Yeah. Our whole top six also has room to improve. They are still young. I agree. I think that, once Slavkovsky gets rolling, obviously, I mean, that first line is playing great, and Slavkovsky is not playing, at full capacity just yet. So when he does, I think that'll just, boost everybody a little bit more. Patrick Laine gets back in the lineup and healthy and, playing, game in, game out. I think that second line, we're seeing Doc and Newhook both improve and bring their game around. And I think that, again, I think it's great. I think it's great. Our fourth line looks like a third line. That's exactly what you want, right? You want a fourth line that looks like a third line. You want a third line that looks like a second line, kind of. And you want a second line that looks like a first line. And you want a first line that is, one of the better first lines in the league. That's the recipe for success in today's NHL, right? With the salary cap and everything. That's what you want. Now, obviously, the third line being the second line to me is, I don't think that the role that a third line plays is the same as the second line. I think you'd have to have more of a defensive aspect to your third line than your second line. But if you've got a third line that is responsible defensively and can produce in the area or in the range of a second line, then I think you're doing pretty good, right? So. I want Heineman to come second line, but I don't want to disrupt that. Well, again, I don't think that Heineman is suited to play on the second line. I'm a little bit surprised by Heineman this year. He's turned into be a much better defensive player than I thought he was capable of. But I get it. You don't want to disrupt that. But at the same time, one of the reasons why Heineman is so good is because he's doing all of that on the fourth line with, the ice time that you get as a fourth liner, right? So, if Heineman was on the second roll and producing it the way he is, he would just kind of be, he would just be an average second liner, right? 10 goals from a second liner isn't particularly special. Other than the fact that he's still quite young and he's a rookie and all of that, it would be impressive. But again, one of the reasons why Jake Evans is so good is because he's playing on the fourth line. If Jake Evans were a second liner, he would be a mediocre second liner, right? So again, having guys who are performing above their role, Marty St. Louis talks about chairs all the time, right? You got guys who are playing above where their chair is. They're playing better than what you would expect from their chair. Just okay, Larry? Just okay? That was a tight game, Owen. Yeah, it was kind of tight. It was tighter than it needed to be, I suppose. I think the Canadiens certainly were the better team for all but about 10 minutes of that game. But again, it just shows you that if you let your foot off the gas or if you stop skating, that the momentum in a hockey game is very fragile, and you can lose it very, very quickly. You got to work really hard to get it, and then if you don't keep it, it can disappear on you like that, right? So we'll get to the report card here in a second, gang. If you are watching the show, guys, whether it's live or on a replay, please, as the button says here, subscribe. I think it's I'm always reversed. It's here. There we go. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up. We've got 11 thumbs up. We can always do better. I think we ended up with 40 thumbs up on our last show. So if you're in here and you're enjoying the show, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit the notification bell and hit the thumbs up. If you're watching in a replay, same applies. We're trying to grow we're trying to grow a community here, guys. We're trying to we're trying to build a community where people can come and talk about the games, talk about their team in a civil manner, in an intelligent manner, where you're not just sort of talking about, oh, my team's awesome and your team sucks, or, this guy sucks or that guy sucks. We want to be able to have, relatively intelligent chats and conversations about our team and our sport. And, I'm trying to grow a community where we can do that. So, obviously Habs After Dark is the, the first part of that. I'm hoping to start maybe I can show you guys Habs Therapy Day. Let me know what you guys think of this. So this is, so I'm gonna try and do a weekly show that's on sort of in the evening or the daytime, and this is I think this is the theme for it. If I can get this, is it still here?
Pour un gars d'ici, être le directeur de général des Canadiens est une occasion d'une vie.
Enjoy the moment, you're in the NHL here.
Working for the Montreal Canadiens is a dream. La plus grande franchise dans la histoire du hockey.
If it was my last day on this planet, and you told me what would you like to do, I want to be in that building on a Saturday night.
So yeah, so that's the theme that I've created for the new show that I'm hopefully going to get going here in the next week or two. I don't know I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a sneak preview. Most of you guys who are in here are regulars, so yeah. What do you think of that? Thumbs up if you like that, guys. If you don't, let me know what I can do better. So, but that's that. Like I said, we're trying to grow a community here. Habs After Dark is the first component of that community. Again, Habs Therapy Day will be another component of that, and the Blue Sky account and in particular the Substack is something I want to try and grow as well. I'm on a Substack for the Arpin Basu, Marc-Antoine Godin podcast as well, where their listeners are on Substack, and they have an ongoing conversation and discussion that goes on about the Canadiens, and I'm hoping that maybe we can develop something similar to that. So, like I said, if you're not familiar with Substack, look it up, and go get started over there and look up Recliner Sports and see if you can get on there and maybe we can start a bit of a conversation over there as well. So same applies, like I said, if you're watching live, if you're watching a replay, all of that good stuff. Blue Sky, Substack, subscription, all of that. So we're, like I said, we're trying to grow something here. I'm trying to grow something here, and it really helps for you guys to join in. So Robert Legault, I know I might get crucified for this, but I would look to trade Gallagher. Well, again, I think Gallagher, if they can get an offer for Gallagher, then I think they would try and trade him too. But the problem, Robert, is that Gallagher is virtually untradeable right now. I mean, he's got a $6.5 million contract. I believe he's got another 2 years after this year. So again, you're not very likely to find a team that's going to take Gallagher off your hands. And realistically, other than the salary, Gallagher's been a good contributor to this team this year. I think he's been just fine. I mean, obviously at $6.5 million, he's not doing enough to earn that paycheck. But in a rebuild, you can live with that, right? Because you're not paying. You're not knocking at the door of your salary cap. So, a guy like Gallagher contributing, as he is as a fourth liner, which is a very good fourth liner, or even third liner, I guess, they're whoever they've got third and fourth. But again, he and Josh Anderson are doing great, right? They're obviously they're not earning their paychecks, and they can't. They just don't have that in them anymore. But the games that they're playing. Again, I don't see any. First of all, I don't see any market for Gallagher, and I don't see any reason to be. If he was completely, dogging it and terrible, yeah, you might look for a team who, is willing to take on his salary in return for, whatever. Kind of like the Canadiens did with Sean Monahan and took Monahan off of Calgary's hands, or the way that they took Laine off of Columbus's hands. But again, I don't see that we're at that stage with Gallagher. I think he's doing just fine for me. Larry is a listener on this channel, learning every day here. Well, I love your commentary, Larry, and I'm happy that you're listening and learning. But I love it when you give us some of your knowledge as well. So feel free to pipe in from time to time. I got to get to the point now where I have somebody else on the show, because I find talking for 2 hours straight is hard for me sometimes. So 5 stars on the intro. You like that, Adrian? I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope I don't get dinged for any type of copyright on that. I don't know exactly how copyright works here. I know that I can't do too much, but I think it's a 30-second. I think that opening is about 25 seconds long, so I think I'm okay. But otherwise, so let's do the report card, guys. Again, the report card is something that I started because with a rebuilding team, you can't always judge the team on wins and losses. Sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper. Sometimes they win and play terrible. Sometimes they lose and look great. And this allows us to dig a little bit deeper. And so tonight, the report card, they allowed 4 goals, so they didn't meet that goal tonight. 3 or fewer goals against. That's a bit of a landmark or a standard goal in the NHL is 240 goals, right? Or less than 3 goals per game allowed, and more than 3 goals 4. And so tonight they obviously scored more than 3, but they allowed more than 3, so they get a check mark for one and a failing grade on the other. I thought the special teams was good tonight. They had 2 power play goals, including the game winner. They killed. What's the kill tonight? They killed 2 of 4 or 2 of 5. They killed 2 of 3 tonight. So they were 2 for 4 on the power play, and Vancouver was 1 for 3 on the power play. So they scored 2 and killed 2. Decent. The penalty kill, obviously you'd like them to be a little bit better, but it is what it is. Effort, engagement, and energy. I thought they had that tonight. Again, they came out flying. They looked great. They were hitting, all of that good stuff. I thought they did quite well early on. Bringing energy in a situation where they might not have had it right after a long road trip, travel all the way across the country. I thought they looked really good. Progress, again, I think they're still moving in the right direction, so I'll give them a check mark for progress. Pride, again, pride's a bit of a weird one, but for me, the pride here tonight was not giving up when they certainly could have. when they certainly could have used the travel as an excuse. They certainly could have used the lack of rest as an excuse. They didn't. They go down 3-1, and instead of folding up their tent and calling it quits, they stuck to it, and they came back and took the win in overtime. Discipline, I gave them a failing grade just for the Cole Caulfield penalty alone. Again, just unacceptable in that situation. He'll learn from it. He won't do it again. We've already talked about it. There's no sense in going over it anymore. But again, just a lack of discipline, and it could have cost them. It wasn't a big deal tonight because again, I thought they were carrying the play and they were the better team. But if you do that against one of the better teams in the league, that's gonna really bite. I mean, it bit them in the ass anyway, but it's gonna bite you a lot harder against a better hockey team. And again, I'm going to give them a failing grade for 60 minutes simply because they did have that dead time tonight. Again, I know you can't be on top of the other team and dominate them for the entire 60 minutes, but again, there was a palpable 10-minute period in this game tonight where they definitely were shut down a little bit. So the fact that they came back, I think, is great. That's more of the pride side of things. But again, I don't think I can give them a passing grade for 60 minutes. So there's your report card, guys. What do we think about the report card? Do we agree with the grades that were handed out today? I think I might have to amend the report card a little bit now that I think the team is kind of moving into a different stage. So as far as there's certain aspects of that report card that, I might look to change, but do you agree with those grades? Are we happy with, do you agree on the discipline side of things? Do you agree, are the, the failing and the passing, is that where we, are we on the same page there? Larry says that was so true about Saturday night back in the day. The report card is a nice idea. You like it. Okay, Larry, I'm glad you like it. Nim likes it as well. Andre Vezina says they played well. If you guys want to, again, I'm going to assume that some of you are francophone by virtue of your names. Andre Vezina. Si vous voulez me demander des questions en français, André, je suis très capable de répondre en français. Mon français, c'est pas parfait, mais je suis capable. Je vais faire mon mieux. J'aimerais bien avoir une émission qui est bilingue. J'aimerais bien avoir des écouteurs francophones qui sont confortables d'être ici et de parler en français avec nous. Comme j'ai dit, c'est mon but d'avoir une communauté où on peut parler intelligemment, civilly. How do you say civilly in French? Civilement? Poliment? Alors, j'aimerais avoir une communauté où on peut parler poliment, intelligemment au sujet des Canadiens de Montréal, au sujet du hockey. Et pour moi, c'est une équipe où les partisans sont aussi anglais, aussi français, et les autres langues aussi. Alors, pour moi, j'aimerais ouvrir les portes à tout le monde. Alors, pour moi, c'est simplement, it makes sense to open the door to francophone and anglophone, fans because, the Canadiens are a bilingual team. So, yeah. Si vous voulez parler en français, tu peux me parler en français. Si vous voulez parler en anglais, you can talk to me in English. I'm happy to jump back and forth. It's also good for me because I get to practice my French, right? I grew up in Quebec. I spoke French for the better part of my life, and I've lived in Nova Scotia for, 30 years now, and I don't get to practice my French very much here. So, this would give me a great opportunity to practice. So, it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for everybody. So, poliment, oui. Poliment is politely. It's a little bit different than civilly, but I don't know. The gist of it, I think, is the same. The gist is the same. Your French is not You never lived in Quebec, did you, Intertap? I think you're an Ontario boy through and through. I think that's right. So, anyways, guys, it looks like the comments are kind of slowing down now. Maybe it's a good time to shut things down. It's a Monday, so I don't want to be up too late. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in, I think, now. Took me a little bit longer to get on board here because with the overtime, it's always harder to get your graphics done because you have to kind of wait until the game is over. Anonymous says, I'm a bit late and didn't watch the game. How do we play? Just know the score. The Canadiens played well, Anonymous. They came out flying. They did really, really well in the first 10 minutes or so. They scored a minute into the game. Cole Caulfield scored a goal a minute into the game. Unfortunately, the Canucks got a goal at about the 10-minute mark or 11-minute mark of the first period, even though the Canadiens were dominating. It kind of turned the tide a little bit. Vancouver went up 3-1 in the second period. However, Montreal then came back. They scored a goal late in the second period, midway through the second period, and then they scored two more in the third. They were up 4-3, and then Cole Caulfield took a really bad penalty, and Vancouver scored on the power play. So they went into overtime, and they had a power play in the first part of the overtime that carried over from the regulation time, and they scored an overtime goal. Nick Suzuki from Lane Hudson, and Cole Caulfield. Cole Hudson would be nice though, wouldn't he? Lane had a great game. Yep. Again, it was interesting because they were talking about how he was at the World Junior Final last night and got home really, really late because he went down and watched his brother play in Ottawa. And I assume he would have drove. I can't imagine he would have flown or anything like that, or maybe had a private jet. I don't know what would have happened there. But, so he would have gotten home late, so he would have watched his brother win a gold medal at the World Juniors and then showed up today and had a goal and 2 assists. So, all right, Intertap. We won't hold the Ontario thing against you. I'm just kidding. That's all right. If you're taking off, we'll see you later. If you're not, well, keep hanging out. But I am going to end the show here a little bit. P.S. Cole or Lane, who do I prefer? I think I prefer Lane. But Cole looks pretty good too. I would have, again, I don't know that the opportunity presented itself for Montreal to really draft Cole last year unless they, maneuvered their way into that area of the draft. I think they went from the Hage pick all the way to the Koivu pick, I think. I don't know that they picked in the second round at all last summer. I like them both. I think I know Coach's opinion is that he doesn't like the idea of having two similar style defensemen on the same team as far as size and the way they play. But again, I mean, if you could have, again, not to say that Cole is another Lane Hudson, but if you could have 2 Lane Hudsons on your team, I think you'd be pretty crazy to turn that down. So, yeah. So I think that's going to be just about it for tonight, guys. I really appreciate everybody for coming. If you are here in the live, please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. If you're watching on a replay, also same thing. I'm told by YouTube, the analytics tell me that only 35% of the people who watch the show are actually subscribed. It's really, really easy to do. All you got to do is just hit the subscribe button right here down below. It does help us grow the channel. It does help us get bigger. We are trying to build a community here. Go check us out on Substack. I mean, I know you guys are probably just, let's going in one ear and out the other, but it really would be a cool thing if we could build a bit of a community on Substack where, Substack gives you a spot where you can just, you can post comments and then, you can have a whole thread of people responding. You can post videos there. You can post, it's basically like your own private social media. So you get away from the, all the bullshit that's on Twitter and, you can have, conversations with people that and people that you feel like you can have a nice, intelligent and civil conversation with. So I think that would be a really cool thing to try and build. And if we can get enough people there, I think that would be really, really fun. So again, Substack, guys, go in substack.com. There's an app you can put on your phone. It's a really cool spot. So I highly recommend it if you're looking for a spot where you can actually have fun and intelligent chats about the sport and about your team without sort of having to deal with all the trolls and lunatics that there are on Twitter and the other social media platforms. So check it out. Blue Sky, we're on Blue Sky as well. But the main thing, guys, is to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, if you enjoy the content, please do tell your friends. If you think there's anybody out there that would enjoy this type of thing, like I said, intelligent conversations about the game. Eventually, we'll get to the point where we'll start having people on the show with me, where we can have a conversation face to face as opposed to just dealing with the text comments. But that's a bit of a ways down the road. But I think you guys are enjoying this. If you've got any sort of criticism or constructive criticism how I can be better, I certainly invite that. And hopefully you keep it constructive. If you think I'm absolutely terrible, I'm a big boy. I can handle that too. So, but hopefully you are enjoying it. If you are watching the show in a replay and you do have a question or a comment or whatever, feel free to post it. I'm pretty good at responding to those things. Certainly we're pretty early on in the process, so there's not a lot of stuff to respond to. So I do my best to do that. So again, subscribing. We've got 200, and I think we're almost at 250 now subscribers. We want to get to 500. 500 lets us do some funky and cool things with YouTube. YouTube doesn't believe that we're a real channel until we get to 500. So I want to try and get there, and then we can do some stuff with subscriptions and different stuff in the comments. So if you've ever been over on Coach Frenchie's channel, you see his show. He's obviously well over 500 subscribers, and you can do some different things in the comment section over there that you can't do over here yet until we get there. So go Habs, go! See you all in the next game. Yes, thank you, Adrian. It was good to see you. Thank you, Anonymous. Do you think we will continue to push for the playoffs, especially with Laine coming back soon? Well, I think this team's very capable of it, Anonymous. Right? I think we've seen what this team can do, and more importantly, I think they've seen what they're capable of. Right? So now they know that they can play with anybody. Right? They've just knocked off 4 of the best teams in the NHL. Not back-to-back games, but in 5 games they've knocked out 4 of the best teams in the NHL. So now I think the confidence is there. They know they can do it, and now it's just a matter of going out and doing it. Right? They know they can do it. Now they have to go out and do it. So I think if they do continue to play and continue on the trajectory they're on right now, I do think they have a chance to make the playoffs. I've said that all along. I mean, it didn't look good early on in the season. But as long as they stay healthy and they can stay on this trajectory, especially with some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference faltering a little bit, I think it's a possibility. I mean, is it a guarantee? Do I believe? Would I bet my house on it? No. But again, the reality for this team is not about making the playoffs. It's about them getting better and progressing, right? Because new players are coming. The players that are on the team are getting older and better, and so as long as those as long as your Hudsons and your Ghoulies and your Caulfields and your Slavkovskis and your as long as those guys continue to improve, this team is going in the right direction. And then you're gonna add guys. Demidov's gonna come along, and Beck's gonna come along, and Reinbacher's gonna come into the lineup. Hopefully, again, there's no guarantee of any of that, but again, these are your prospects that are coming too. So I think it's all working in the right direction. I don't do a podcast, Anonymous. I've chosen to do this instead. I may eventually try and do a podcast, and I think that the Habs therapy day that we were just talking about will end up being more of a podcast form as opposed to a game review format. It'll have pre-established topics that will be covered as opposed to sort of what we do here is I normally do a review of the game. We do the scoreboard. We do the A team, and we do the report card, and then in between I kind of answer questions and just have a bit of a free form conversation. I think there'll be a little bit more structure to the Habs therapy day, and maybe I turn that into a podcast if I record it. It's obviously being recorded. So, all right, Larry, it was great to see you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening out there in Arizona. I certainly am a little bit jealous about the temperature at the very least. So. Have a great one, and we will definitely look forward to seeing you in the next one. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Again, one more time, I'll say it. If you're not subscribed, please do so. It helps the channel. It helps me. It helps us grow. It'll help you guys, right? I mean, those of you who are here, hopefully you're enjoying the content, and the bigger our community gets, the more the more conversation we'll be able to have. Go check us out on Blue Sky. Go check us out on Substack. Those are my two preferred social media formats. Again, I'm trying to get away from some of the more toxic places like TikTok and Twitter. I think you'll find Substack and Blue Sky to be far more civilized than those places, especially Substack. And I think if we can get the ball rolling on Substack, I think it'll be a really cool place for us to, communicate and have chats and interact between games and between shows. So look for Habs Therapy Day coming soon. So all of that good stuff. So if you're live, please subscribe. The button is just right down here. It's really easy to do. If you're watching in a replay, same thing. I appreciate that not everybody can get here after the game. Sometimes it's too late or whatever. Sometimes you got other things going on. But if you're watching in a replay, we certainly would love for you to be able to join us live. But if you can't, just subscribe. We're going to continue doing the show. We go live after every Canadiens game. The show is called Habs After Dark, and we normally go on the air about 10, 15 minutes after the game. We do our best to get on as quickly as we can. So that's it for tonight, guys. I think that's going to be another good show. I really appreciate everybody for coming. Anonymous, Larry, Adrian, Entertap, Andre, Nim Nim. Asim was here for a while. Asim was great. Asim had a great contributions tonight. Robert Legault, Owen Gale. I should pronounce that properly. Robert Legault, André Vézina. Entertap again. Claude Dijal was here. Billy D was here early. Contributed really nicely early on in the show. So thank you to everybody. I think that's pretty much everybody that was here tonight. Frank was here briefly. Oh, I didn't even see your comment earlier, Frank. It was a good win with the window thanks to Monty. He was a little shaky. Frank doesn't like the goalies. Frank is hard on the goalies sometimes. RJ popped in. RJ Calabro again. RJ's a regular over with Coach Frenchie. RJ came in to give us a bit of an update to tell us about Al McNeil and Al McNeil's passing. So thank you to him. And James was in here very briefly. I don't think he hung around. James was actually at the game live tonight. So hopefully he is out having a beer on Crescent Street somewhere instead of joining us. So that's it for tonight, guys. I appreciate it. Montreal Canadiens 5-4 overtime victory. Goals by Cole Caulfield, Caden Gooley, Kirby Dock, Lane Hudson, and Nick Suzuki. Lane Hudson with a goal and 2 assists tonight. They win in overtime. A power play goal from Nick Suzuki. The upward trend of the Montreal Canadiens continues. Next game is when? Pardon me, guys. I had to check really, really quickly. The next game, I believe, is until Friday. The Canadiens' next game will be on Friday against the Washington Capitals in Washington. I will likely be on the air for that, and I would love to see all of you. And it should be an interesting game. The Canadiens take on Alex Ovechkin and the surging Washington Capitals. It'll be another good test for them. And then they play on Saturday, right? So back-to-back games with travel. They play at home against Dallas on Saturday. So I look forward to seeing you all there again. 5-4 final. Montreal Canadiens win in overtime. Happy Monday. I hope you enjoyed the game. I hope you enjoyed the show. I certainly appreciated having all of you here. I'm really starting to like this more and more every show. The shows are getting better and better, and I'm having a great time. So like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front. Dock to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.